Every team has had some form of disruption at some point for Syracuse's 28 days right toward the end of the 2020 calendar year. Their largest break that they had to endure. They've also had to rely on freshmen quite a bit this season. Your Toyota starting lineups for the Boston College Eagles. The same starting five that got the job done yesterday. Cameron Swartz with those 33 points, tying an ACC tournament record for a Boston College player. Taylor Soule held to a season-low 4. We'll see how she bounces back for Joanna Burnaby-McNamee today. Eagles, as we said, made that run to the semifinals in the ACC tournament last season. They've had their disappointments this year. They expected better, following up on that great year in 2019-20. Now's a chance to make up for lost time. Tip-off from Greensboro. The 6'7" Cardoso wins that battle, puts it into the hands of Kiera Lewis. Orange looking to go inside early to Cardoso.
One of the keys to this game that Coach Mack mentioned as she was looking forward to this matchup today was, she said, we have to play bigger. And that was an example of that from Clara Ford, is being disruptive on the 6'7" Camila Cardoso.
Enxler spinning to the basket. First start of the season for Emily Enxler, the ACC Coast 6 Player of the Year. Clara Ford really the only true size for this Boston College team at 6'3". There is the 6'2" Allie Van Timmeren that come off the bench. Early enrollee for the Eagles, who's been a big boost this season.
Almost everything for Syracuse offensively starts with a high ball screen, and Kiera Lewis is a threat to pass it, also to score it. And without Tiana Mungakahia on the floor, everyone will have to become a playmaker, including the freshman Priscilla Williams, who is really a spot up, doesn't do as much of the assist work, but she'll need to do that today.
Ford did just enough to disrupt Cardoso off that inbounds. Dickens, big part of that three-point barrage for the Eagles. And they knocked down 10 triples in their win against Pittsburgh yesterday. Williams driving into the lane. Tough to get a bucket in the opening minute.
And good look from the freshman early. Again, she will have to be a playmaker, not just to score, but also to pass. She's got size at 6'2". And takes a smaller defender, Gerard, right to the rack. And that's what's sometimes difficult about this Syracuse team, especially with this lineup. Look at how big they are. Kiera Lewis is the smallest player on the floor. Everyone else 6-footer and above. And so they may look to take advantage of that size on the inside.
These two teams played just a week ago. Last Thursday was a 92-75 win for the Orange.
How does Syracuse cover ground in a zone? They will go to man, as they just now did in the middle of a zone possession.
Soule forced to go to her left on that possession, couldn't finish. Lewis will drive. Will we see Kiera Lewis be a little more aggressive, perhaps, without Tiana Mungakahia on the floor? If you missed that, Mungakahia not available for this game due to lower body injury.
Kiera Lewis was fantastic last year taking over the point guard spot, but you see Tiana Mungakahia still very involved, showing her leadership, using her voice from the bench.
Eagles still in search of their first points. 10 on the shot clock for Swartz. Boy, was she shooting the ball well yesterday. She picks up where she left off.
Syracuse got matched up in their man, and Swartz just made a tough pull-up.
Career high 33 points for Swartz in the first round win against the Panthers.
It's just a few minutes into this game, but Clara Ford has done an outstanding job with Camila Cardoso. Hasn't allowed her to just get easily to the block and has been disruptive.
Enxler so good on the glass, part of the reason she earned that Coast 6 Player of the Year award off the bench. Lewis. Tough drive. Dickens, touch pass. Swartz didn't want a piece of that. Cardoso certainly forced her to back up.
Yeah, back it out against that shot blocker. Back it out. Wise move, Cameron Swartz.
Cardoso, the leading shot blocker in the ACC this season. The reason she was named co-defensive player of the year.
Ardell Gerard harassing Kira Lewis, member of the ACC all-defensive team.
Eichsler to Lewis. Stroutman up, off the glass and in. Stroutman is such an interesting X factor for the Syracuse team of China. She's coming off a scoreless outing in the last game against second-ranked NC State, in which Syracuse really played a very good game. They wound up losing at 68-61 as Ford drives and is fouled. But Stroutman, as I said, went 0 for 3 in that game for Syracuse. She has been held scoreless in 3 of the last 5. That had only happened twice in the previous 110 games of her career.
She's such a hard worker. I mean, Quentin Hillsman once said to us that she is the hardest worker to ever come through the Syracuse program. So when she misses shots, she's just as hard on herself as anyone else could be. You know, she gets in the gym, she puts in her time, and it's just about having the patience and the confidence to knock it down. But she's playing the top of that zone defense. She's playing the top of the press with her size, so she'll have opportunities to impact this game on both ends.
Eichsler. Dickens rebounds pretty well for a guard at 5'8". Taylor Soule averaged 23 points, 12 boards, or had that in the last game. She averaged 21 and a half, 9 and a half in the 2 games against Syracuse this season. Did not have a field goal until the 4th quarter of the game yesterday. Ford, boy, she's certainly doing the work here early for Boston College.
I mean, incredible energy. She's everywhere. She is not usually a big factor on the offensive end, but it's the disruptive play, the deflections. It's making Camila Cardoso work for every touch or every opportunity around the rim. She's going to get a well-deserved break right now as Ford, as the early enrollee, Timmerman, will come in.
Stroutman hits the 3. Kayla Ivey coming off the bench for Boston College. Soule trying to get around 6'7", draws the foul. That's the 2nd on Cardoso.
When the ball goes to the high post, Syracuse usually will match up because the high post is hard to guard in the zone. So this will be a key matchup in this game. I mean, can Taylor Soule take advantage of 6'7" Cardoso, get her in foul trouble, get opportunities in the middle of the floor to score, and that was a great move to get to the free throw line.
And keep an eye on the score and the time. 5:14 in the 1st quarter. Cardoso has to go out with those 2 fouls. Maya Bajal-Ditabdi comes on in her place. Looked like Syracuse had it, but then Swartz winds up with it for Boston College. Threw it over the hands of Allie Van Timmeren, though.
And the long pass is something that Coach Burnaby McNamee talked to us about. You know, she thought her team against Pitt and also in their last matchup against Syracuse often tried to make the long pass. She said, let's just make the easy pass, the short pass, and take good care of the ball.
Look at Gerard. Lewis got free from the screen that time, and then the box out is still going on. I think Swartz, though, will be the one whistled for the foul. Close one early. Syracuse up 2 over Boston College despite being shorthanded. We'll tell you more about that after the break. 2 of the ACC Women's Tournament from Greensboro. Syracuse today without one of their key leaders, Tiana Mungakahia, out with a lower body injury. And this is a player who, quite simply, LaChina, has been amongst, if not the best in the country in terms of setting up her teammates. She missed last year, battling breast cancer, but look at what she has done throughout her career.
She has gotten back to the top and doing what she does best, which is distribute the basketball and make everyone around her a better player, leading the nation in assists. But it's clearly a huge loss for Syracuse because she is the heart and soul of this team, the leader and the engine that makes them go.
So that is certainly the most notable loss for Syracuse today, but Kelly Deo, not the only one.
That's right, you guys. 4 other players not available for this game. Kiera Fisher, Talia Washington, Kamaya McNeil, and Faith Blackstone, all unavailable because of a violation of team rules. So you've got to think a couple of those players would have played back up to Tiana Mungakahia. Now, Kiera Lewis has to be moved over to that point guard position. That is not as easy for her to get those 3-point looks like we've seen this season. And then you got to think Camila Cardoso already out with 2 fouls. You wonder if you'll see her at all in this first half. So the bench is very thin for Syracuse.
And what that means is that, again, Williams is going to have to be a playmaker. Emily Angsler is a very capable playmaker as well, and that's a charge on Williams. Syracuse has got to be careful with the foul trouble with Cardoso already early. But Digna Stroutman, everyone's role changes. The good thing for Quentin Hillsman is he has forwards that can play guard-like positions, and he can move the pieces around in this team, but just their traditional point guard spot definitely depleted today.
See how it all plays out. Syracuse handled Boston College twice in the regular season, including in their last meeting just a week ago, but Taylor Soule was certainly the most difficult threat in terms of trying to lead Boston College.
So smooth on that mid-range shot, and there she is, Kiera Lewis. She can really get hot and put a lot of points on the board with her shooting ability from all 3 levels.
She had not shot the ball well in the last 2 games against Boston College, Lewis, but just 1 of 9 from 3 in those 2 games, although she still averaged 17 points per game. She was still getting a lot of points, just not from the 3-point line. Williams, one of the top 3-point threats. It's another offensive foul as Gerard, one of the best defenders in the ACC, draws the charge.
Exactly what you can't have if you're Quentin Hillsman, because you're shorthanded. And I don't know about that one. I didn't see any kind of push-off necessarily. Not all contact is a foul, but that one looked like it was sold.
That'll bring in 6'4" senior Amaya Finkley, a player who played a lot more, in fact started every game of the last 2 years, but has been used more sparingly this season. Her role may increase today. Swartz in the corner, took some contact. She did that a couple of times yesterday, LaChina. Drew the foul on the 3-point attempt.
It's incredible. And I have to watch her shooting form a little bit better. Maybe there's a pause as she's going up that tricks the defense, but it is rare for a shooter to get fouled on the 3-point line once, but the number of times it's happened to Cameron Swartz in the last 2 days, I mean, look at the free throw attempts. 16. She said, I've never taken that many free throw attempts in a game.
Much less made all but one of them.
Especially when you're spending a majority of your time around the 3-point line. But you see in that last play how it happens.
Said she was so excited to be able to be here playing in front of family and friends. And as we all know, there have not been a lot of opportunities for a lot of these student athletes throughout the season, depending on the various rules within their states or their schools and institutions. So she was so excited to have her family here and be able to witness that big game she had in the win yesterday. Got a foul away from the basketball. It's going to go against Van Timmeren, her first. Lewis being hounded by Swartz.
The clear out isolation play here for Kiera Lewis.
She's going to go to Stroutman, which is smart. Stroutman has had the hot hand. Look at Engsler just elevate for the rebound. It'll be Boston College ball.
In this lineup, Emily Engsler is playing the 3 position. She's usually in at the 4. So you see defensively, she's guarding the perimeter, and we'll put her in a different position on the offensive end as well.
Swartz to the basket.
Swartz, knowing she has the foot speed advantage, gets to the rack.
Puts Boston College out in front by 1. Engsler still hasn't hit for Syracuse. Dickens wanted to get it through, but a lot of traffic. Ball was kicked.
I mentioned Emily Engsler playing on the perimeter in this lineup, and here she's having to be matched up with Cameron Swartz. Everyone else is hugging their player on this side of the floor, and just the blow-by. Where's the help?
Travel. Just a second turnover of the game for the Eagles. This could be one of those grinded out games for a shorthanded Syracuse team. Lewis, Soul defending, and offensive foul. That is the 3rd offensive foul in this quarter by Syracuse.
And if you're Syracuse, you got to take note. I mean, there's definitely a trend developing on the drive. We saw it with Williams. Boston College is looking to take that charge. And again, I did not think there was any displacement there. I thought Lewis went straight up. She tried to clear out a little bit with that arm, but either way, you have to be aware of what's happening in Syracuse on the offensive end.
How the game is being called. On you to adjust. Lewis finally breaks the scoring drought. That is a blocking foul, perhaps. The Eagles getting a little too greedy trying to draw those charges. Second on Swartz.
Swartz did a good job of getting outside the restricted area yesterday. I actually had a bad call on her where she was outside and I thought she was inside, but here she's definitely inside the RA. And sometimes you just have to know and not even take the risk, you know? If you know you can't get there in time and you're pushing it, as important as she is to this team, you can't do it.
6 points in the game for Lewis. Orange back in front by 2. Van Timmeren from the free throw line.
That's the shot that Coach Mack wanted to see Van Timmeren hit today against Syracuse zone. She said she's capable of doing it. If she gives us a presence at the high post, that will help us offensively.
It's a soft spot, isn't it, of his own, getting it into that high post. It's Lewis. We knew she'd carry more on her shoulders. She fouled going to the basket.
Well, she can get in her bag. She's got a variety of shots off of the bounce. She's got a step back. She's got a crossover. This time she backs Ivy down into the post. She's one of the smaller guards that likes to go down low to do her scoring. She likes contact.
Lewis coming off a 29-point effort in the loss against second-ranked NC State in the regular season finale for the Orange. Under a minute to play in our first quarter, game 2, round 2 of the ACC Women's Basketball Tournament. Soul thought she had a lane. Jump ball eventually is called. It was such an interesting storyline yesterday, LaChina, to think that Boston College played as well as they did, getting as little production offensively as they got from Seoul.
One thing I think helped Boston College is they did not play on the final Sunday of the regular season, so they were able to get a little bit more rest coming into the ACC tournament, and they looked fresh.
It's a great point. Boston College, the only team in the ACC that was off on that final Sunday, so their last regular season game was against this Syracuse team.
Exactly a week ago.
Yep. Lewis with the ball in her hands. Lewis and Gerard, watch this matchup. Let's see who gets the better of it.
I like how Quentin Hillsman's in the play. He's on the floor with him right now.
Point defense that time as Lewis couldn't finish over Gerard, and then Stroutwitha just making sure no extra points being put up there by Van Timmeren, and Syracuse will take a 5-point lead into quarter number 2. Syracuse Orange without Tiana Mungakahia today, trying to hang on, make it to the quarterfinals. They're up 5.
ACC. CPI Security. The Fresh Market. Discover the best today. And Coyote Tractor. We dig dirt.
Ready for quarter number 2 between Syracuse and Boston College. Time for our Honda Dealers of the Carolinas startup LaChina in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a little bit of a slow-moving offensive first quarter for both teams in terms of getting into their rhythm. I mean, that's to be expected. Kelly Dayo talked about this in the Open and just how it's hard to play back-to-back if you're Boston College. What are their legs going to be like? What was the rest like? And Syracuse adjusting to life without Tiana.
And you guys, another thing, you look at that low percentage right now with Syracuse. Cardoso's out, many in foul trouble right now. You got to think Boston College needs to attack the rim and get some higher percentage shots, and hopefully those better looks will result in some more points and a better percentage shooting wise.
Gerard nearly got her hands on the ball off that inbound. Lewis 9 points, leading the Orange into Finkley. Finkley off the glass and in.
I'm a big fan of Finkley. She is just so solid. She missed extended time with some contact tracing issues this year, but she's experienced. You know what you're going to get from her on every play. She's very fundamentally sound.
And you've got that experience, too. She certainly gives them that. Soul, tough, acrobatic attempt, and she is fouled.
High level of difficulty on Soul's shots because the defense knows where she wants to go. Good pin and seal by Finkley. She keeps those shoulders squared up, uses the glass, and nice finish. She's got that little bit of a size advantage over Soul.
Taylor Soul, first team All-ACC selection by the coaches. She was second team by the media, though I'm not so sure. This media, between you and I think we probably had her a bit higher up there in our voting. I know I did, LaChina.
Yeah, I am just so impressed with Taylor Soul. She's going to continue to grow her game. You know, if she can extend to the three-point line and continue to work on her ball handling, she is going to have a fruitful career at the next level at the WNBA because she has all the physical tools, length, strength, quickness, and she's been adding on to her skill level.
Joanna Burnaby-McNamee says in practice, she used to always say to her team and whoever's on her scout team, would you want to guard T-Soul? And they all said no, because she is just so tough, such a full package there. Travel and a turnover. That's the 5th turnover by the Orange.
Gotta love the passion from Quinn Hillsman. I could really just watch him for an entire game. I mean, his facial expressions, his outfit is always open for commentary. His interactions with his players.
Yes, as Evan Lepler likes to say, he is very sartorially splendid. I still have a hard time pronouncing that as well as you do, but you get the point. You know, even in his jumpsuit, he's bringing.
Well, it's the kids. So check out the neon orange, pinkish color on those Nikes. I've never seen those before. He's ahead of his time.
There they are. You get a good look.
Oh, yeah, but from my seat, they look like they're glowing. So
They do.
turn up the turn up the color on these screens.
Cardoso coming back into the game. This is her first appearance since she went out with 5:14 on the clock in the first quarter. She is playing with 2 fouls.
And she hasn't finished the regular season strong. She's been in foul trouble. I mean, this has been the story. Teams have got the scouting report on her, and they've been able to take her out of the mix. Beautiful drive and pass by Dickens. And that's the kind of play that Kelly Deo was talking about coming back from the break.
4 points in the game for 4. The Eagles within 3. Shelby Tabdi wanting to get it to Cardoso. Soul had it and then just couldn't quite keep her balance.
Well, Cardoso not allowed to get to the block. I mean, that is one way of defending her, is meeting her body at the mid-post. And don't let her get 2 feet in the paint right around the rim, because if you do, it's going to go in.
Look at Taylor Soul reading where that pass was going. She popped in from behind, tapped it away, runs down the floor, and a travel was called on Ivy.
And these are the turnovers that hurt Boston College in their last meeting against Syracuse. Slow down. This is Soul on that defense that you were talking about, Jen, just putting her body in position to make a play. But Boston College has got to slow down. They're doing what they have to do on the defensive end, but mistakes on offense.
Lewis got herself an open look, made him pay.
Well, it's hard to rattle Lewis. You know, you mentioned she has struggled from the field, but she's so poised in her offensive attack.
Nobody stepped over to guard Taylor Soul. Boston College would take that open look anytime. She just doesn't knock it down. Eagles just 24% from the floor so far in this game. Seven on the shot clock.
Boy, that is not a good offensive possession for Syracuse. This is adjusting to life without Tiana Mungakahia kind of on the fly. They need more player movement, more ball movement.
Dickens, Ford, the ball fake from Soul, but then the shot blocker recovers to get back on Ford.
And Cardoso looked back at Inkster like, what are you going to do about this drive? But she recovers in time to get over and help. Gets it up high.
There's no foul called on that play, but Cardoso will come off nonetheless. And she's frustrated, you can tell.
Very frustrated. Beautiful finish by Soul. How explosive is she?
Joanna Burnaby-McNamee says she is by far the most athletic player she has ever coached. And Coach Mack, in her 3rd year at Boston College, was the ACC Coach of the Year last year for the great turnaround that this program had, getting to 20 wins last year. They finished tied for 4th in the league a year ago, and you think about those expectations that they had and the disappointments they've had to weather this year, LaChina, in not being able to live up to some higher expectations that they created.
Yeah, I mean, with injuries and again with COVID, and the one thing I think you can't account for was Emma Guy, Georgia Pinot, Taylor Ortlep. I mean, those players were very important to this team in terms of what they did, in terms of their accomplishments, but more importantly, how they played the game. I mean, that's a lot to replace. Batts with a tough shot there on the pull-up.
Yeah, welcome into the game, Jalen Batts. First shot, first bucket. Syracuse clinging quite precariously to a 1-point lead here.
You see Quinn Hillsman trying to use that size advantage.
Winds up being a travel. There was a lot of contact on the double screening action, but travel, the call on the floor.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was a That was a travel.
There's a lot of contact there. 8 turnovers, 7 field goals in the game for Syracuse. Allie Palmieri, the other early enrollee for Boston College, should be a high school senior this year, along with Allie Van Timmeren. Those two have wound up, especially Van Timmeren, playing some important minutes for the Eagles this season. 5 on the shot clock for Dickens. She knows it. Got it to Ford. She walked.
Another costly turnover for BC. They're holding their own on defense. Offense hasn't come as easily unless it's going through Taylor Soule.
After that win against Pittsburgh, Joanna Burnaby-McNamee said, well, survive in advance, and I'd rather survive ugly than not survive. So that might be the game plan again. Just find a way to get it done if you're Boston College over the higher seeded Orange. But Finkley has 4.
I never worry about Syracuse's front line. You know, they've got a lot of depth on that front line as Dickens lets someone fly, but Jaldi Tabdi, Finkley, even Inksler, Cardoso, Stroutmana can play the 4 if she needs to. And they've got the experience at those positions as well. Their backcourt is where they don't have as much depth and haven't had as much time on the court.
Ivy missed the layup, but then Dickens hits from outside.
Just a pure shot. Love watching her shoot the ball from anywhere on the floor.
Enksler. Got it. First points of the game for Emily Enksler.
And not often you get to see Enksler coming off a screen, but in this lineup on the perimeter, that's going to be her role in the offense during certain play calls. Syracuse is matched up in their main.
That's hit her first shot. A little tougher task that time going over Finkley. Michaela Dickens trying to do her part, keep the Boston College Eagles in this one. We're all out here enjoying the outside or little basketball in Greensboro.
Wake up with Hardee's. Mowing off your to-do list for good. Available at mylandroid.com. Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealers today. And Continental Tire, for what you do.
3-point lead for Syracuse, the 5 seed in this tournament over Boston College. And LaChina, you asked for it, you get it. We're going to call this the Q-Cam.
Oh, the always entertaining Quentin Hillsman. I mean, he just wears everything on his face that he's feeling through the course of the game, except his mask. You can see the emotion. He gets into the play. Right here, he's going to take a knee and get into it. It's the outfit, it's the glasses, it's the swag. The Suitland, Maryland native representing the DMV. Don't you love Quentin Hillsman?
How could you not? I mean, he's done a tremendous job on the court. We always enjoy our interactions with him, getting to find out his favorite snacks. And he also told us earlier in the season, we asked him about his masks because I kept seeing all these Twitter posts and he always had a new mask on. Every time he was posting it, telling everybody to mask up, I said, all right, coach, tell me honestly, how many do you have? He said, probably between 70 and 80 different masks. He has a tailor that makes his shirts when he's in dressier times. And so when there's fabric left over from the shirts, the tailor would make him an extra mask out of it.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, imagine if he was in those suits.
Right?
How the coordinating would be occurring with the masks and the fabrics in the suit. But
yes,
the coaches are dressing down this season, so we won't see that.
These two teams fighting for the right to take on the Florida State Seminoles in the quarterfinals. Florida State snagged that 4 seed in the last game of the regular season, taking it away. Syracuse had a chance to finish with the double bye in this tournament, but they lost 3 of their last 4 coming into Greensboro. So they're a team, I know, LaChina, you feel securely into the NCAA tournament field at the moment, projected to be in there, but want to be playing their best basketball.
Yeah, they do. They want to be at full strength for sure. Definitely an NCAA tournament team, but I'm sure they're hoping that they can get Tiana Mungakahia back. We don't know what that timetable looks like.
Lewis, Engsler undercut by Soule, and you can see Taylor Soule immediately coming over to apologize, but Engsler's work on the glass in China, she already has 8 boards.
I mean, Emily Engsler is by far one of the best, and she has long arms and size, but she also understands the trajectory of the ball coming off, and she looks light on her feet because she is. She lost 40 pounds in the offseason, so that adds to the type of energy she has on both ends of the floor, including going to corral possessions.
Lewis is going to keep it in her hands. Forced draw to Garter. There's a foul.
Hey, LaChina, I'm also going to update that number in terms of weight loss. I was just on a Zoom call with Emily Engsler. 50 pounds now is the number for Emily, and she said that has made the difference this season. You know, she was the 6th player. She said that's something that she was aiming for and really wanted this season. And she said, even though my numbers may look the same, what I can do on the floor because of this weight loss and because of the fitness has been incredible. And, you know, she told me at the end of that Zoom call, in 2 months, she's going to give us a 6-pack ab because she says she's on Digna Strampana's ab workout. So that is like confirmed. She's promised it. So look forward to that for next season, guys.
I believe it. If Emily says she's going to do it, I believe it.
So there are levels to this. There's the 40 pounds, then there's the 50 pounds, and then there's the 6-pack. But
Where does it end?
Yeah, you can see it though, Kelly. You know, she's the first player down the floor on both ends. I mean, I've seen her get down in transition and really protect the basket on her own. I mean, she's just quick and swift, and she's a McDonald's All-American out of high school. Good shot there by Strautmana. I'm just enjoying watching Digna and Emily play in different roles in this game. I mean, they are literally playing at the 2 and 3 spots, something we really haven't seen, definitely not from Engsler this year, and Digna at the top of this zone. We haven't seen this.
The trickle-down effect of not having Tiana Mungakahia, everybody having to shift a bit. So far, so good for the Orange.
And having 4 players unavailable due to violation of team rules. Good ball movement here. Digna's got size. Again, that is one thing that is an advantage for Syracuse is in this bigger lineup, they can shoot over a pursuing defender from Boston College who just may not have the length to get into the way of the shooter.
Gerard knocks it down. Five in the game for Gerard. Pulls Boston College within 3. Under a minute to play in our first half from Greensboro. A lower scoring affair than that first battle we had between Wake Forest and North Carolina. The Demon Deacons prevailing, and Finkley finding herself wide open.
Another high ball screen and good read there by Lewis. And not enough communication from BC.
Van Timmeren gonna try to get to the basket around Finkley. Maya thought she had the block. There was a foul called. That's her second.
That's a confident play by Van Timmeren. It was kind of her and the defender in the middle of the floor. She did get the shot, but did get the drive. But take a look at this move. As Finkley looked like she got all ball. Maybe it was the body.
You talked about Allie Van Timmeren looking confident. I mean, she's been that way since she arrived. She graduated high school early, joined Boston College right after Christmas, made her debut at NC State, top 5 team in the country at the time, and then later in January, she had a career high at Louisville. So those are the top 2 teams in the league that she's gone through. in her young season with Boston College so far. Eagles have had a heck of a schedule to get here. It's part of their division that, along with Syracuse, they'll play Louisville twice, but Boston College also playing NC State twice in the regular season. Oh, Lewis, a little razzle-dazzle out to Jaldi Tati, but defended by Bats, no basket. That possession for Syracuse.
Syracuse 31, BC 27.
Quentin Hill's been telling us he's having to, feels like he's living every play out there with his team, and this is a tight one. Could cause a little stress for the coach. Up 4 at the break. We'll see how the Eagles come out in this second half, LaChina. Anything particular you'd like to look for?
Well, I think to Coach's point, when you think about what Quentin Hillsman said at half, he said he's got 3 centers on the floor at the same time, so he's big. Boston College is the smaller, more mobile, and quicker team. So I like the idea of them looking to push pace on this big lineup and hopefully use their guards to try to penetrate it, to Kelly's point that she has been saying since the first half, and get some buckets inside. But it's going to be a little tougher with Camila Cardoso out on the floor.
And we saw some emotional moments with Cardoso, who did have a frustrating first half, but that's a good start to the second half for the 6'7" freshman.
There is no answer in the building for 6'7" Camila Cardoso. When she keeps the ball high, she's unstoppable.
Soul going to the basket for BC.
Beautiful patience and footwork. Watching Taylor Soul is like watching a ballerina sometimes around the bucket. She's so light on her feet.
The pun fits all too perfectly, as she is often referred to as the heart and soul of this Boston College team. Priscilla Williams also had a frustrating first half for the Orange, just 2 points as she was limited with some early fouls. Swartz on the breakout.
And that is what Coach Barnaby McNamee was talking to Kelly about. Looking to push in transition. If you don't have it, that's fine. We pull out, we show patience, but let's run.
Gerard and Lewis has been a fun matchup throughout this game. Enxler, boy, she was big on the boards in the first half. Now she drains a 3.
Syracuse gets into their ball screen action in a variety of ways, that time using horns, and Emily Enxler spreads the floor.
Those long arms of Digna Stroutmana got in the passing lane, but it stays with BC. Soul got a little deep on the catch. That's an offensive foul. Second personal against Soul. Foul trouble to China, always something to be wary of with Taylor Soul. It's been an issue at times for her this season.
Yeah, we saw it just yesterday. I mean, she was kind of taken out the mix early in that game against Pitt, and teams are going to look to attack Soul. I mean, she is the focal point of everything Boston College does, and so she has to be very careful when she's trying to take charges and when she's trying to get position, and you know, teams are definitely gunning for her.
BC doing all they can to try to play big against Cardoso, but she is fouled by Swartz. That's her 3rd.
BC foul number 1.
Mentioned there was some emotion on the sideline. This was coming out of halftime for Cardoso.
Yeah, I mean, she has had a rough stretch to end the regular season. She came into this game just, you know, not in a rhythm, having gotten foul trouble their last couple of games. A lot of frustration. Teams are also being very physical with her, but here's how she turned it around. Had a little chat with Quentin Hillsman, picked herself up, and the freshman is back out on the floor, having more of an impact at this point in the game than she did to the start.
The mental and physical exhaustion of a season can show itself in different ways, certainly. Jump ball after Lewis had some nice moves to the basket, but couldn't finish.
And to your point, this year has definitely been tough for freshmen. You know, you come to school, you're not having a normal experience. You're isolated from the rest of campus. You're obviously quarantining all the time, and with so many COVID rules and regulations and restrictions, I mean, it's a lot. And if you're playing a major role on your team like Cardoso or Williams or some of these other freshmen, Van Timmeren, who's really only in high school, it's a lot to take in.
It's maybe a game of attrition, just who survives the best. Is Quentin Hillsman at the half telling us his team didn't know what they were doing, just trying to piece it together. Taylor Soule playing her heart out for Boston College, pulls her hands away, thinking, please let that whistle be a jump ball. It was.
And you also keep your eyes on Boston College's legs in this second half, a team that wants to get some threes up. Will they have the legs to do that? Will they have the legs to compete on the glass?
Just one of those other added elements that makes the tournament, the postseason, so exciting as teams are put through this gauntlet. You're rewarded by your play in the regular season with your seed. The 5 seed is the lowest to ever win the ACC tournament in this event's history. It's tough for those teams to have to play on day one.
Yeah, it is. No doubt.
Lewis, if he's parted,
literally skipped to the basket.
Yes.
That's got to be frustrating for Coach Mack, because you know that Lewis is the target for Syracuse's offense today.
Stroutman, she's feeling it.
Boy, has she stepped up today. Getting out of a little bit of a shooting slump to end the season, playing out of position. But Digna Stroutman has started every game of her college career. She's dependable, plays hard on both ends. This is what Syracuse has to their advantage. They've got experience. Senior Kiera Lewis, senior Digna Stroutman making plays. Syracuse is undermanned, but you can't tell.
Oh, run here in quarter number 3, 6:24 left to play in this quarter. Syracuse playing without Tiana Mungakahia. They're all ACC point guard, leading the nation in assists. They've had to make some adjustments. Kiera Lewis has carried a lot of the load. 15 points for Kiki, 11 for Stroutman to lead the Orange.
What has stood out to me about Syracuse is Rod will go to the free throw line, but the contributions from players like Finkley, who has filled it nicely, 3 for 3 from the field for her for 6 points. You know, her minutes had not been as high as previously noted in her career. I mean, she's been a starter for much of her career at this Syracuse program. But again, as we saw even earlier against Wake Forest with Samil, and you know, you need additional contributions. You need more people to step up, even if it's just a few points, a rebound here and there, a defensive stop. And Syracuse has gotten that from their supporting cast so far.
Yeah, you figure at some point in a tournament, no matter who you are, it's going to be somebody other than the big names who are going to have to do something special.
Just a high level of difficulty on these shots with Lewis. I mean, not a lot of ball movement for Syracuse. They're just going straight isolation, and she's capable. But I'd like to see Cuse just get a little more offense run before they go. They can get that shot at any point in the clock.
Swartz coming off the 33-point outing yesterday. A little quieter in this one so far with 8 points in the game.
She had those early fouls that earned her more time on the bench in the first half that I'm sure she would have liked. But we'll keep our eyes on if she's able to get back into the flow, because it was a beautiful thing yesterday seeing her score from all 3 levels.
Allie Van Timmeren just got called for a foul, her second, and for the early enrollee freshman, that's been her biggest difficulty in transitioning to this college game, is figuring out how to keep that aggressive edge, which she so obviously has, but stay out of foul trouble. the shot clock, and it's a turnover, double dribble by Lewis. It's in frustration.
And she's telling her teammates, you know, they've got to move and get more active on offense. We're going to have time to talk about it.
Syracuse still in the lead, under 5 to play in the third quarter from Greensboro.
The moment you order the word.
He was recently named the Bradley Award winner, the Bob Bradley Spirit and Courage Award from the ACC. And who better to win this award? I mean, we know how frustrated she is not to be out there on the floor with her teammates today, but just her journey to go through her diagnosis of breast cancer, go through all of the chemotherapy and the treatment, and find her way back to a level, LaChina, that had her once again leading the nation in assists is incredible.
And I don't think we probably give her enough credit, Jen. You know, I think sometimes people think once someone is cancer-free that the worst is behind them. But when you're trying to get yourself back to an elite level as an athlete, it's almost like the journey begins again then.
Sure.
And after 600-plus days between games, you can imagine, you know, her body really went through a lot with the treatments, with the double mastectomy. I mean, this young woman, I don't even know if courage is strong enough of a word to describe what she has shown us over the last couple of years.
Not only one of the greatest stories in women's basketball, but one of the greatest stories, period, over the last couple of years. And it's our pleasure and privilege to have been able to tell a small part of it. Williams had it tapped, and BC takes it away. The BC defense, #1 in the league this year. It steals.
Solo looking to post up Williams. She's got 2 defenders there.
I mean, she went into the double team, didn't she, and split them, but couldn't finish. Williams.
And this is where Coach Burnaby McNamee wants to see this team run. And there's Boston College getting an easy one.
They get rewarded for it. Gerard gets the points in transition. She has 9.
And it starts with the defense, and it starts with the rebounding. Defensive rebounding for Boston College is going to be the most significant stat for them so they can push pace.
Gerard knocked off by the screen from Finkley. And then Williams is looking to get it back to Finkley. Who's this go against? Soul picks up her 3rd. That's big. What do you do here for Coach Mack, LaChina?
Oh, this is survive and advance. I think you have to trust T. Soul in this position. Coach had a sub get up, and then she sent him back, so we are thinking along the same lines, maybe.
Yeah, typically, I think you're right. In the regular season, Jalen Batts knew she would have been called upon. If Taylor Soul picks up that 3rd foul, still just in the 3rd quarter, she probably would come out.
Well, we may see some changes to how Boston College defends and how they may look to protect Taylor Soul. Maybe a little more zone to keep her away from getting that 4th foul.
Jaldi Topti and Cardoso both come onto the floor for Syracuse. It's a big lineup out there.
Hey guys, you mentioned the length in that 2-3 zone for Syracuse. That's something that Coach Q was intentional about in recruiting, because when he got to Syracuse, he talked to Jim Boeheim a lot about the zone, but he knew he did not have the size for it. So that is what you're seeing now. It's a result of intentional recruiting, and I think it's hurting the Boston College shooting percentage, as not many people have been able to hit at least 3s in this game.
Yeah, I mean, when you move those pieces around, Kelly, Kiera Lewis is the smallest player on the floor, as we said earlier, and everyone else is 6'2" or taller at this point.
There was some displacement there. That is a bold play by Taylor Soul, but it works as the offensive foul called against Cardoso.
How many offensive fouls? Soul definitely sold that one.
Well, talk about rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Playing with 3 fouls, that could have gone the other way. But you're trying to survive and advance. Your team is down. Maybe that's the type of play that gets him going.
And teams are doing that more often to Cardoso.
You know, you talk about Cardoso as a shot blocker, obviously LaChina, but it's even moments like that right there where you see Taylor Soule make the decision to fade away from the elbow rather than try to go in the paint and go against her.
I mean, you don't account for contested shots, for changes in how people run their offense. You don't see all that on the stat sheet. You may see the blocks, but the number of strategies she impacts and affects with that 6'7" frame, you understand the defensive designation in all ACC because she changes your mind on what you think you can do around the lane.
Cardoso now back on the bench, as is Soule for Boston College. Finkley was a perfect 3 of 3 in the first half for 6 points.
Boston College has got to try to take advantage here on offense. Syracuse is not really pulling away for them, and great pass. Van Timmeren used her body perfectly to put herself in position to just catch and lay that up.
3 points for Van Timmeren. Boston College pulling within 6.
That's a good call as soon as Cardoso left the game as well, Jim. Very strategic.
Go to the paint. Stroutman and Ivy got there in time to at least force her to drive, but Stroutman finishes.
How about the versatility of Stroutman?
Van Timmeren got a little versatility to her game too. Just scored inside. She can shoot the 3.
Digna Stroutman is showing us different dimensions of her game today. We knew she could shoot the 3, but here's putting it on the deck. Getting to the rack, she's played the front of that press. I mean, it's a totally different mindset to go from, you know, playing the back line of the zone to playing the top of the zone to playing the top of the press to then being a playmaker. I mean, these aren't easy adjustments that Syracuse is trying to make on the fly here.
Apparently the Orange are content to concede the rebound if it happens on the free throw, as everybody's standing back and letting Finkley, they're in the bonus, that's why she's shooting.
Either that or Quentin Hillsman looked like he might have been confused as to, and I thought you had to fill in the bottom 2 spots unless it was a technical. I thought you had to have 2 players lined up on the free throw line, at least.
Dickens has been quiet for Boston College. You figure somebody's going to need to get going. It was Swartz yesterday. Soule just with 9 points, Gerard with 9. They're the 2 leading scorers. Swartz has 8 for the Eagles. Slow pace. Does this favor one of these teams over the other, LaChina?
You know, I mean, I would say Boston College, you know, to kind of save legs. You don't want it to be a high-scoring game by any stretch, but I mean, that's what Coach Mack said she wanted. Oh, everything in the move, just not the finish for Anxler.
Well, how athletic did she look on that play? And that's all part of what Kelly was talking about earlier with Emily and the weight loss, now 50 pounds, and it changes the way you can play the game.
It does. She looks very light on her feet on that move. You know how much work it takes to lose 50 pounds?
I mean, 5 is hard, I think.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Especially when there's a lot of popcorn being consumed.
Well, and especially when your partner, because she loves you, brings you 2 boxes of Girl Scout cookies.
That's right.
I was like a little kid a minute ago. Couldn't figure out why my tummy was starting to hurt a little bit, and I realized I'd eaten 5 cookies already.
It's all right. A little extra sugar's okay. Final few seconds of quarter number 3. 1 quarter left to decide things as to who's going to face the Florida State Seminoles in the second quarterfinal tomorrow. Will it be Syracuse? Short-handed Syracuse today. Will they get more back? And Tiana Mungakahia tomorrow if they advance, we'll see. Or does Boston College have a little something left in the tank for the fourth quarter?
Enough time here for Gerard to get a shot.
She does! Didn't get get the roll. Not for a minute. Might have a little exclamation point, but not to be. Came close on this one, though.
Yeah, she had enough time. Gets it up. Oh, every piece of the rim except for through the nets.
Fourth quarter coming your way after the break.
With the original guarantee, we're gonna come out on top. Future's eyes, so now you better listen up. We're gonna be flawless.
All the feels come tournament time. Little game summary for you as we get ready to start the fourth quarter. Boston College has had their struggles offensively. 30% from the floor, 1 of 15 from 3. We said if they make threes, they can beat anybody. That's not been the case so far. However, their defense keeping them in it. It's time for our CPI security protecting the paint.
I love the sacrifice of Boston College, willing to put their bodies in position to take charges, and they have done that, especially early, to get Syracuse out of the rhythm, just trying to get in position and get those charge calls, and they got a lot of them. A couple of them sold.
They still count.
But it's about the effort, absolutely.
A date with Florida State on the line for these two teams. Seminoles awaiting the winner of this one in our second quarterfinal tomorrow. They were supposed to play Boston College in the regular season. That one was not able to be rescheduled, was postponed. And Syracuse lost at Florida State in February, which gave the Seminoles the nod to help get them into that number 4 seed in the double bye in this tournament. More basketball action coming your way from Greensboro tonight. Make sure you come back for our evening session. Miami has been playing really well down the stretch, as had Virginia Tech been until that loss on the final day of the regular season against North Carolina. And then Clemson and Notre Dame in the nightcap.
Yeah.
Tom Mormy and Debbie Antonelli getting ready to take our seats for those games.
Katie Meyer's team finished on a high note. Destiny Harden stepping up, playing big. Virginia Tech has got 2 of the most talented players I've seen in the country, in Asia Shepherd and Elizabeth Kitley. I mean, they are as good as it gets as far as an inside-outside duo, combo. I mean, you've got to be excited if you're Kenny Brooks leading Virginia Tech back to the NCAA tournament this year.
Yeah, the Hokies, such an up and down season. For so long, they were the story of almost, because they had so many close losses in conference play. Then they got it rolling, had a program best 6-game ACC winning streak, which was just snapped on Sunday.
Yeah, they started to win when it counted. And we mentioned this earlier about Wake Forest is just, the committee is a what have you done for me lately kind of group. So it's better for Virginia Tech to have gone through their losing early. They had some growing pains. They have a young point guard that I really love, Georgia Amore. And they have really got a lot of confidence in the way they're playing basketball right now.
Enxler playing with a lot of confidence for Syracuse, too, the ACC Co-6 Player of the Year. And she got the start today with some changes to this Syracuse lineup. Tiana Mungakahia out, as well as 4 other support players did not make the trip. Mungakahia out due to injury, those 4 other players due to a violation of team rules.
And that just tells you how good Syracuse is. I mean, Quentin Hillsman's done a wonderful job as Enxler misses those free throws. But he's done a great job in bringing top-tier talent to this team. I mean, highly rated recruiting class this year, another one already signed for next season. He's got Emily Enxler, who was a McDonald's All-American, and so you lose something, obviously, today, but you've got talent ready to step up.
3 on the shot clock. Bats swings it over to Dickens. She got it!
That's called not giving up on the play. It was ugly. There were some fumbles, but Boston College gets what they wanted out of that, and that's a made bucket.
And maybe that is the shot that gets Dickens going offensively. Just 5 points in the game for Dickens. She averages 12.5 on the season. A foul on Enxler before she can make her way to the basket.
I mean, Boston College here Soul had nowhere to go. It gets kicked, ball comes out, gets loose, the extra pass, and your shooter. Dickens waiting for it. I love it too, Ford.
Just like you drew it up, right?
That's right.
That was Jalen Batts who committed that foul on Engsler, her second.
What a shooting year Dickens has had. Started her time at Boston College as a point guard. Cardoso can't get that one to go, but she gets it on the second opportunity. But Dickens has had a high level of confidence in her shot all year. And even through Boston College's struggles, she has been that main threat from the outside.
Well, she had 20 points, knocked down 6 threes in the loss at Syracuse to end the regular season for Boston College. There you go, Michaela. Shoot the Dickens out of the ball.
Beaten up. BC has some legs left in that three-point shot.
Dickens calling game. We got 3 points separating these two teams now, but Engsler, boy, she has had the ball in her hands, has been strong with it these last couple of minutes.
These offensive possessions could come down to Emily Engsler being a playmaker, and you can't go behind the screen on a shooter. Dickens hitting some very crucial back-to-back three-point buckets.
That was ruled a turnover by Engsler, so now a chance for Boston College. They knocked down another 3. Finally, they're starting to hit. Tie this game. Soul goes for the 2. Ford, the big rebound, fouled. If that's Cardoso, it's her 4th.
You got to be straight up.
And it is.
Looking towards the bench because she has a feeling that's where she's headed. What a rebound by Ford, and yes, you got to just stay straight up. If you're Cardoso on this possession, you're 6'7". You put those arms straight up, and Ford is likely to miss that shot. But you foul her, she gets to the free throw line, and now you're on the bench.
So Cardoso, certainly the biggest inside threat on both ends of the floor for Syracuse, on the bench. Boston College pulls within 2. Shaldi Tabdi to Engsler. Finkley, boy, she's played a good game for Syracuse.
They have needed every minute of play, every bit of toughness down low, and every bucket from Finkley.
How about Amaya Finkley? You stay ready. Starter the last 2 seasons. Her minutes go way down. She averages less than 10 minutes per game this season, but they have needed her today, and she's stepped up.
Better defense there by Houston, guarding Dickens off of that screening action. And here comes Kiki Lewis.
It's just her second bucket of the second half, but 17 now for Kiki.
Cameron Schwartz has not been as effective offensively, but T-Soul, can she get something at the bucket?
She get her own offensive rebound, I'll tell you that. And then Ford gets another one. Schwartz. Finkley with authority.
Great interior defense by Syracuse. Soul had several opportunities right there at the rim. No shot blocker in the game for the Orange, no problem.
Soul just 3 of 15 from the floor in this game. Leading scorer for the Eagles has struggled. And on this end, the bench fired up.
And that's the right call here by Quentin Hillsman. He knows that Soul has those 3 fouls. She switches on to Lewis. And it looked like, I don't know if there was enough contact to displace Soul on that. I mean, she definitely beat her to the spot, but that's why I always say that not all contact was a foul, because I don't feel like either player really gained an advantage using illegal contact on that possession.
And now you've got key figures on both teams with 4 fouls. Taylor Soul for Boston College and Camila Cardoso for Syracuse.
You just hate for that to be the way that Taylor Soule gets her 4th foul.
At the moment, Soule will go to the bench. You could bet that might not last much beyond this next media timeout, which would come at the dead ball under the 5-minute mark of the quarter.
Dickens had the hot hand for a moment. Kim Swartz finally knocked one down. That was not great offense for Boston College there on that possession.
All season long, Joanna Burnaby-McNamee, I asked her what the best story of the season was, and she said, I know I've said it before, and it might sound a little cheesy, but it's how together this team has been and has stayed throughout this season. They're going to have to pull together and fight to try to stay in this game. Now down 9, trying to keep their season alive, and an airborne Engstler just couldn't stop herself that time.
On the other end, I couldn't tell if Engstler just lost her footing. Sometimes a guard will try to pull the chair up from under you in the post when you think you have contact. But it's rare for, yeah, that was a foul, I thought, by Ivy. I thought she took a good swipe at Engstler, but no call.
Taylor Soule is back in the game right now for Boston College. She and Batts both came in out of that break. Dickens, quick release, got it! 3 triples for Michaela Dickens in this quarter, keeping Boston College hopes alive.
Boston College picking up with their pressure. They want to pick up the pace in this game. And why not pressure Syracuse? They don't have all the ball handlers they would normally have in this game. Make them handle it.
Engstler sandwiched, stolen. Gerard can't quite stretch out to get it.
Boston College still has some life in them and is behind the three-point line. Michaela Dickens keeping her team in this one. Still got time to go.
Syracuse in the 4th quarter, down 6, trying to stay in this game, keep their season alive. Here's our turning point, brought to you by Coyote Tractor. It's Michaela Dickens.
It's definitely been Dickens lining it up from long range. Going under screens is a no-no. She's a very confident shooter, has a quick release on ball movement. She can also shoot it off of the bounce. And keep in mind that the last time these two teams met, Syracuse had 90-plus points. So their defense has done the job if you're Boston College. You've now got to make some buckets. And Dickens is starting to pick up the slack.
Well, they're capable, Boston College. They started this game 1 of 16 from 3 through the first 3 quarters. They're 3 of 5 in the 4th. All 3 of those makes coming from Dickens. And look what they've done in the last 2 games. They have hit their threes. They've hit some double digits in terms of shooting well. And they lost that game against Syracuse, but still made 13 triples.
Yeah, I mean, they can get the number up. And Swartz hasn't necessarily been on today from long range. And so you have to rely on your defense and getting stops, but again, keeping Cuse to 55 points at this point in the game, you got to be happy with that. Now you got to hit some shots. And Boston College is only shooting 30% from the field to this point in the game.
And Syracuse, for the season, averages just over 74 points per game. Gerard got her hands on it. Dickens running the floor. Didn't want to take on Engstler. Threw that one over the head of Gerard, and that'll be an over and back.
That's got to drive Coach Mack just insane. We've seen that on several occasions from Boston College, just careless turnovers.
It almost feels like every time they get right there, one of those happens.
And it's not that, I mean, they don't have a high turnover number this game, only 10, but I bet all 10 of them were unforced.
Lewis.
Good help by Dickens to cut off the lane for Lewis.
Ooh, little behind the back slip from Engstler. Oh, come on, that deserved an assist, but Jaldi Todby couldn't knock it down. How about that pass?
Emily Engstler showing she's got some playmaking ability. She's learned a thing or two from Tiana Mangakahia.
Come on now. fourth team foul of the quarter against Boston College. It was the third on Van Timmeren. And she's going for it again. She's aggressive defensively, pretty scrappy player in Van Timmeren.
And you mentioned earlier, Jen, how she had some foul trouble this season, but as a freshman, body control and physicality all trying to adjust at once, you understand.
We're going to step aside for a moment. Just a few minutes left to play in the fourth quarter. Syracuse up 6.
We resolve to do more.
Okay, get themselves a date with Florida State. Remember that matchup last season produced one of the moments of the year in ACC women's basketball, now known as the Outback Special, when Syracuse had the winning play in overtime. Hinksler hit the basket. That handed Florida State that year their first loss of the season.
What a memorable play and a memorable moment. I think I was driving, listening to the game. Wow.
Called the Outback Special because Quentin Hillsman drew up the play on a napkin at the Outback however many years ago. And in case you missed it, let's take a look back in time, shall we? Here we go, Outback Special coming your way last season from the Carrier Dome. Hinksler with the tip in to win it and knock off 8th-ranked Florida State.
No switch. Hinksler gets to the rim. Look at how different Emily looks then than now with the 50-pound transformation. And oh yes, Q's actually dressed up for the game. That was back when
we did that.
We got fancy. Finkley with another major bucket for Syracuse.
A dozen now for Finkley. That's a season high.
Oh boy.
Ooh. Michelle DeTabdi took an arm and elbow, something to the face there as the flurry for the rebound was going on.
How does Sol at 5'11" get in there amongst the trees the way she does? I mean, it's technique, it's anticipation, but she just looks like she gets so much air under her when she's going in for a rebound.
Swartz. Well, she did the hard part. She got through the two defenders, but it's been that kind of a day for Boston College. Eagles shooting under 30% for the game.
Yeah, Swartz 3 for 12, only 8 points, 0 for 5 from 3. Is that a turnover by Lewis?
Yeah. It gives BC the ball now. Can they do something with it on the offensive end?
Backcourt call there by Lewis. She hasn't had to play that primary point guard spot in a little while. Chance for BC.
Finkley playing big on both ends.
Got time with her, right? You got time with her.
Quinn Hillsman is going to eat some clock here and set up the horns play with Lewis.
Dickens just keeps inching closer and looking over at Eric Bruton to say, am I close enough? Should you need to do something with it now? Finkley couldn't finish that time. Dickens has been the top scoring threat in this quarter for Boston College. Joanna Burnaby-McNamee wants a timeout to talk things over. Florida State Seminoles, we told you, will face the winner of this one, and there are so many storylines. This one in particular, I think, stands out. They struggled so much early on just to get a game in, Florida State. And Brooke Wyckoff stepping in. Sue Semrau taking a leave of absence this season to care for her mother, Rosemary, who's battling cancer. We're told she's doing very well, by the way, but what a job by Brooke Wyckoff to get this team double bye in the ACC tournament.
These Noles were picked 8th in the ACC coaches poll, finished 4th, lost 65% of their scoring from last year, 15 schedule changes, navigated 7-game stretch of only dressing 8 to 9 players. They didn't even have enough to go 5-on-5 in practice. I mean, they had a stretch during the season to begin the year with over 40 practices and only one
But the fact that they've come through it together, she said that there is genuine joy to get on the floor with one another each practice and each game. That's been there from the beginning to the end.
Nice job by the freshman Van Timmeren to step up and knock down some free throws.
Well, Van Timmeren comes from a basketball family, played for her dad in high school, Jenison High School, so she can handle some of those big moments. (61-55) our score. Just over 30 seconds to play. Basketball coming your way this evening, and LaChina, you talked about it. One of the best duos in the ACC playing for Virginia Tech. Shepard and Kitley.
And Asia Shepard has as good as advertised. And the way that she can shoot the three and create her own shots. And Destiny Harden has really come on strong for Miami. It starts with her rebounding ability, and when she's rebounding the ball, she's feeling good on offense. She's very versatile and can score different levels on the floor. And I like this Miami team because of the energy that a Katie Meyer coach squad is going to bring night in, night out, the toughness. Naomi Mbandu is one of my favorite players in the league and her improvement over time, but they've got their hands full and looking to defend the dynamic offense of Kenny Brooks and the Virginia Tech Hokies. They get it going from three, it could be a long night.
Such a good 1-2 punch with Shepard, one of the best three-point shooters, and then you've got Kitley, a double-double machine on the inside. So that should be a fun one, as Miami, as you said, has been playing well. It was great to see Destiny Harden get a chance to get that ACC Player of the Week nod, which she deserved. Boston College is going to foul now. They get to Lewis, who is a 67% free throw shooter for Syracuse. Now, Van Timmeren has 4 fouls, but that is going to go against Dickens. The 2 of them were around Lewis, so that's Dickens, her 3rd. And Lewis on the free throw line. Syracuse 12 of 17 today from the line, just over 70%.
Even in the absence of Tiana Mungakahia, Syracuse has taken care of the ball, only 9 turnovers. They've out-rebounded Boston College, made the most of their second chance points. I keep going back to Finkley, giving them an inside attack with her 12 points, 5 for 7. Adjusting on the fly is sometimes what March is about as well, and this could be more adjusting this March than we've seen ever, Jen, with COVID and just all of the moving pieces and parts of what's been a crazy college basketball season.
Adjusting on the fly, I think, has been part of the entire season, to your point, is games have gotten postponed and rescheduled.
Or you know what we've called it? Pivoting. That's the
pivot.
More dressed up version of making changes on the fly. It's pivoting.
Yeah, got to be ready to pivot. All right, I'm down with it. Find a little bit of strategy. Syracuse had a timeouts. Boston College has 1 remaining. Eagles advance the basketball, get it right to Soul. She picked it up though. She wants Swartz for 3. Nails it! First 3 of the game for Swartz.
This ain't over. Hello.
Boston College knows they can shoot. They may not have been falling early today for the Eagles, but they've been much better in this quarter from downtown.
Coming out of the huddle, Boston College has been the best team in this tournament so far. Coming out of breaks. Swartz hits a big one. Boston College still alive.
4 of 8 from 3 in this quarter.
Well, Quentin Hillsman took that timeout, which I believe... Oh, Boston College took the timeout. Okay, I was going to say. So Syracuse does not get to advance the basketball. They're going to have to take it out here. And Boston College has been disruptive defensively. Let's see if they can do it again.
BC, the ACC leader in steals per game in the regular season. They're going to have to foul quickly as Syracuse got it in to Maya Vijaldi-Tabdi, who's just a 60% free throw shooter.
So you foul the person you wanted to foul, put him on the free throw line. The trouble is, without any timeouts, Boston College is going to have to bring the ball up full court. But as you mentioned earlier, when you can shoot the three the way that the Eagles can, you can close down this lead in no time.
That's the first free throw attempt for Vijaldi-Tabdi. No points in the game for the redshirt junior out of Paris, France.
You want to get that outlet pass out as far ahead as you can. And Quentin Hillsman, knowing that they would want to get it up, brings his defense up.
Time going off the clock. Dickens hits another three. Boston College inches closer.
No timeouts for Syracuse.
The lead down to 2 for the Orange. Dickens comes over to foul. Can Syracuse close it out on the free throw line? They're leaving the door open.
It's going to be about free throws, Jen. And how about Dickens comes off the screen? Lewis, you're too late.
4 triples in this quarter for Michaela Dickens. You think she wants to keep playing more basketball?
This is the madness that can occur in March. This is where the magical moments happen.
Syracuse now 6 of 10 in this quarter from the free throw line, so they have left a few points out there. Vijaldi-Tabdi, perfect.
That makes it a 2-possession game. Boston College has got to move.
Swartz will try the 3. Lewis making sure there was no foul. And now Dickens has to foul. And now your best 3-point threat just fouled out for Boston College.
That just may do it for the Eagles. Maya Vijaldi-Tabdi stepping up and hitting a couple of really important free throws.
Which other players are going to step up? And let's credit a player like Clara Ford. You've said it. Some of it shows up in her numbers, some doesn't, but she played some great minutes for Boston College today. 7 points, 5 rebounds, but was even more than that in terms of what she did with Cardoso, getting her in foul trouble. And for Syracuse, Maya Finkley, another one of those players that stepped up. Priscilla Williams on the free throw line. She's been perfect from the line this afternoon. 0 of 5 from the floor, but 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Time not on the side of the Eagles, and it will run out and advance the Syracuse Orange to the next round. They grit it out, wind up with a 67-61 win. They get ready to take on Florida State in the quarterfinal tomorrow. Seminoles got the better of the Orange in the regular season. We'll see what happens come tournament time. Join us again at 6 p.m. Eastern on your regional sports network. You'll see 7-seeded Virginia Tech taking on the 10-seed, the Miami Hurricanes. For Evan Lepler, Kelly Dale, LaChina Robinson, I'm Jen Hildreth. See you later from Greensboro.